Hey, it's Dawson. Freestyle rapping expert, breakdancing superstar, knows how to ride a bike, and wears glasses. One of those things is true. It's up to you to figure out which one. I recently watched the movie Late Night with the Devil, and if you're like me, you probably had some questions at the end of the movie. So, this episode is going to be a little bit of an explanation, my sort of analysis of the movie, and trying to answer some of those unanswered questions we were left with at the end of the film. Before I get into today's video, I just wanted to point out that there is now background music for the video. Thanks to the person who suggested I put this in. It will help make the videos less awkward with my long pauses. So yeah, let's start the background music. Yeah, I think this would really help. I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be crazy though if that's how I did it? Like that'd be annoying. That would be really weird. Late Night with the Devil is one of the most creative horror movies I've seen in a very long time. It goes off of the found footage horror type of movie like Blair Witch or Cloverfield, but it shows us a new take on this by showing us a full reel of an old taping of a late night TV show from the 70s called Night Owls. Night Owls is hosted by Jack Delroy, played by David Dastmalchian, is a charismatic late-night host who just wants to gain popularity and see his show grow. Jack is a direct rival to Johnny Carson, and Johnny Carson beats him in a lot of ways and has way more views than him. So, Jack goes to some extremes to get his views up, and on his Halloween special, he invites June, a psychiatrist, and her patient Lily, who appears to be possessed by a demon, onto the show in order to talk about June's new book and experiences with Lily and get into a little bit more of what this demon actually is inside of Lily. However, things take a turn, and while Jack starts as a non-believer, it quickly escalates into something that's hard to refute. To start this movie, there is actually some backstory done through a documentary type setup. There's a narrator and slideshow photos getting us up to speed on Jack's life pre this Halloween special that he tapes. So, there are two important things that we learn from this that will come into play in answering the questions of this movie. Number one is the group that he is a part of as his fame rises. So it says once he gets into Hollywood, he joins a all-gentlemen's club in a place called The Grove, which is the woods somewhere, I'm assuming, in LA. This club seems to be filled with all the rich and powerful men in Hollywood. And while it is stated in the documentary that they're only known to do some weird money business exchanges, stock exchanges, and some odd sexual activities, they are believed by the press and the common public to be kind of a cult. There's actually some really frightening images here of people in owl costumes and definitely some culty images that set a tone for the movie that something else is here other than just Jack's want to be the best talk show host. There's something else in his past that is pushing forward this story. Moving on from this, we hear about his wife and how she mysteriously died. It says that she died from lung cancer, even though she's not a smoker. She mysteriously got lung cancer and passed away. We find out at the end of the movie that Jack actually was the cause of this. He sacrificed her soul as a part of his cult, as a way to become a popular figure in Hollywood. And while he didn't actually believe that that would do anything, he didn't believe it was actually him sacrificing her soul, he didn't think anything would happen, it did still end up killing her and in turn making him famous. I think this is a really cool backbone for a story, by the way, to have like all of these powerful men in Hollywood using a cult and powers above them, or in this case I guess below them, to make things work out in their favor. Gives way into the corruption of the business that is entertainment. It's also really cool commentary on how men will use women to get in places of power and how they will disregard them. Even though Jack didn't intend to kill his wife, he still totally used her for his position that he got. Putting aside the other people who come on his show, like Christo and Carmichael, I'm just going to jump right into June and Lily because they're the most important part of this when it comes to uncovering what this movie meant. Right before June and Lily come on stage, they show a little bit of background footage on how Lily got here and how June came into knowing her and what really happened with Lily to make her possessed. It is revealed that Lily was actually a part of a cult who worshipped a god or demon known as Abraxus. Now, there was a fire in her cult and it killed everybody but her, and it is believed in this moment that is when the demon entered Lily and began possessing her. They never actually say who this possessor is, who is in control of Lily's body when she isn't. She refers to him as Mr. Wriggles, but they never explicitly say who, so that's the question I'm trying to answer today, is who is inside of Lily? The first option is Abraxas, or one of their followers, one of their fellow demons. Someone who the cult was praising, right? Abraxas is a Gnostic figure who is kind of known as both a god and a demon, depending on who you ask. It is said that Abraxas' name is a substitution for the Supreme Being's name, which cannot be said. It is a word in place of this unsayable word. Some people view Abraxas as a god among gods, above all others, and some view Abraxas as a demon whose evil cannot be compared to anything we could imagine. The most interesting interpretation of Abraxas comes from Carl Jung. He says that Abraxas is both good and evil at the same time, both a shining light and a god among gods, and a devil among demons. He writes in his 7 Sermons to the Dead, Abraxas is the sun, and at the same time the eternally sucking gore of the void, the belittling and dismembering devil. So how does this tie into the themes of the movie? I think with Abraxas being one of the possible entities inside of Lily, we can kind of backtrack and look at the parallels between his meaning in the lore of demons and the themes of the movie overall. When Lily's demon first makes an appearance, it recognizes Jack.
Good to see you again, Jack.
It makes reference to meeting him in the tall trees. I initially interpreted this as him meeting Jack as a part of the Grove, probably because the Grove worshipped the same entity as Lily's cult did, Abraxas. I think this would make sense thematically because Jack had to make a sacrifice similar to Abraxas. Jack had good intentions. He never wanted to kill his wife. He wanted to be famous and he wanted to spread joy with his talk show. That's what he wanted. But what he got was sacrificing his wife's soul and killing her. In some ways, Jack is the protagonist of this movie. He keeps the story going. He's the one that we root for. He is our main character. But in other ways, he's also the antagonist. He does this bad thing that puts the story in motion. He kills his wife. He's the real villain of this story. So in this way, being both the protagonist and the antagonist, he parallels Abraxas. I think this is how the cult worked. I think in order for him to get what he wanted, he had to make a sacrifice, much like Abraxas himself, both balanced good and bad. While this matches thematically, I don't think Abraxas is the demon inside of Lily. I think that he's the demon that the Grove sacrificed Madeline's soul to, but I don't think he's who's inside Lily. I don't think there is a demon inside Lily at all. I think it's actually the soul of Jack's wife, Madeline. First, I want to note one of Lily's first lines to Jack. In between a commercial break, Lily is getting makeup put on her for the next shot, and she asks what's happening. Jack says it's to make you look pretty, and her voice changes and says something along the lines of, "Don't I already look pretty, Jack?" This is not the voice of a young girl. It is much more mature, much older, possibly the voice of Jack's wife. And that's not the only time that he makes reference to her sounding like Madeline. There are a few times in this movie when he outwardly says how much she sounded like Madeline in that moment, and it freaks him the heck out. When Lily first lets a demon take control, she recognizes Jack, like I said, but what if this isn't a recognition of Abraxas noticing one of his followers? What if it's a wife recognizing her husband that she has long missed since he sacrificed her soul. We can see in these moments her eyes sink deep within her, and the design of her is very creepy. The effects are done so well on this. I think they're really cool. They give a very 70s vibe, so whoever's in charge of this, big ups to you. It was very great. But I initially interpreted this as a reference to movies like The Exorcist. It has a very similar design to Regan, who is one of the most well-known people possessed by the devil in film. So it would make sense that they want to draw this parallel. But when I reached the end of the film and we see Madeline on her deathbed, we notice that she has very similar sunken-in eyes. So I don't think this is an homage to an earlier film. I think this is Madeline showing her face through Lily. I think this is one of our biggest pieces of evidence that Madeline is the one inside Lily. This isn't a demon distorting Lily's face. This is the soul inside of Lily showing her face when she speaks, the soul of Madeline. Like I said before, when Lily is possessed, she says that she met Jack in the tall trees. Again, I initially interpreted this as the Grove, right? This demon figure noticing one of his followers that he met probably when he was summoned in these trees, in this forest. However, we know that the reason Jack and his wife met was because of his fame, right? They met in the Hollywood setting. And Hollywood has one of the most famous streets in all of cinema, in Beverly Garden, that is lined with a different type of tall trees, palm trees. We know that the reason Jack and his wife met was because of his fame, right? They met in the Hollywood setting. What if this isn't a reference to the Grove, but a reference to where Jack met his wife, in Hollywood? There's even further evidence in this movie when they play back the tapes later, and we actually see a glimpse of Madeline behind Lily. I think this is just showing us as the audience that Madeline was there the whole time, and that she may be controlling Lily. We know that Madeline is in the studio with us when, at the beginning of the movie, when Christo freaks out and calls her name and says that she's there, and it basically kills him. That spirit, seeing that and feeling her emotions, basically kills him, which shows us how powerful she is.
An unmarried man with a wedding ring. The spirit needs to talk to you. Who are you?
Nearly as powerful is the only thing that kills anyone else in this movie, whatever's inside Lily. This would also explain the demon's obsession with Jack and June's affair relationship, because it's not just a silly mocking of their relations with each other. It is a wife who is jealous and angry about how her husband has betrayed her and how he has moved on to this other woman. The most convincing piece of evidence in this movie comes at the very end, when we finally see Madeline talk to Jack in his mind. Okay? At this point, whatever's inside of Lily has freaked out and killed June, Carmichael, and Gus. And Jack is really the only person who is left on set, and they go inside his mind, and that's where he confronts Madeline. In this moment, Madeline asks Jack to kill her with the Colt's knife. When killing her, he is letting go of her in his mind, right? He is finally letting go of the knowing that he has killed his wife, and in this way she is able to move on. Christo picked up on this earlier, her not being able to move on, and that's probably what caused her so much pain and what gave her all this power too, is she wasn't able to move on because Jack still had hold on her. So in this moment, he is freeing her and killing her in his mind and letting go of her. And also, it is revealed when we go outside of his mind after he kills her that he was killing Lily too. Because he killed Madeline, she no longer has need for Lily, right? Lily is an empty host, and she allows Jack to kill Lily too, and Lily dies there. And in the last few frames of this movie, we see Jack sitting there in his empty studio as everyone has left. The studio is wrecked. All the others are dead. And he sits there with a dead girl and the bloody knife that stabbed her as sirens blare in the background. Madeline leaves Jack with one last gift: her revenge and the framing for the murder of June, Lily, Carmichael, and Gus, and the end of A Late Night with the Devil. This was by far my favorite video to write so far, really get into this movie and what possibly could be the answers. behind who is inside of Lily. I firmly believe that it is actually Madeline. I think she's getting revenge on Jack, and it's a full circle moment for his life, right? The thing that he sacrificed to get his fame is the thing that ends him. I think it's a perfect explanation for this movie, and it makes me enjoy it so much more, but it may not be what the writers intended. Let me know what you think happened. Who could be possessing Lily? Is it Abraxas? Did I overlook something? Let me know. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. I am gonna go fall asleep now.